Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got an extremely interesting knife review slash knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Exceed Designs TiRant Ultra Utility Knife. I mean this 100%. I think this is the coolest, like high-end, sort of enthusiast utility knife that has ever been. This has been kind of an exploding thing over the last few years, is taking the basic concept of a utility knife, a basic utility knife, and turning it into a much more premium item. Somebody's bound to say it. I feel like people are probably rushing to the comment section to say this. Why would you do this? Why wouldn't you just buy a basic utility knife? It does the same thing. I'll tell you why. The answer is incredibly simple. Because this is infinitely cooler. That is it. That's the whole thing. I mean, if you come in here, thinking you've got your trusty fastback, right? And you're like, who would ever do it? How did you get here? Why are you here? I mean, the fact that you're here implies that you are interested beyond the fastback. So I think we can probably save that part and just admit that stuff like this is just way cooler, right? Not just because it's a titanium frame lock that has a little housing for the blade. No. So this is their hot swap system here. You can see that there's a button and there's like a little lever right here. What we do is we push this button down, trying to get that to where you can see it, and it pops this up. And you can pull not the blade, but the entire housing out. Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just pull the blade out? We pull the housing out because he sells individual blades. The price is actually pretty good. Like this absolutely beautiful zero etch Damascus blade that you can pop in there. Effectively taking this from a simple premium utility knife up to a pretty awesome kind of like high-end pocket knife. Now, right now, he's got lots of different blades. He sent a whole bunch of them. Some of these are D2. There's another one that's Damascus. We have like a topographical pattern. You have like tantos and drop points and sheep's foot and all of that. In the future, I guess his plan is to do other more premium blade steels as well. I think the price is, obviously, it's substantially more money than a typical utility blade, for sure. But you always have the option to just install over time, however many utility blades. And then if you want to, if you're feeling fancy, right? You got the little, you got the enthusiast wiggle. That's a weird thing to say, but you're feeling like that day. Well, then you pop in your favorite blade, right? Truthfully, all things considered, it's a knife that does the basic tasks of a utility knife, but it also can be a super high-end fancy knife. And honestly, the price for this system, in my opinion, is far from ridiculous. It's a ridiculous thing to put down on paper and describe, but all things considered, I'm actually super impressed with it. This has been a joy to carry. Not this particular one. This is the one that's down here in my office and I use it for little things. But the one that I keep in my truck, I have been carrying and using, and it's constantly been rotated in and out of my pocket with other things. And I just love it. It is so cool. I will link this down in the description so that you guys can check it out if you want to. There are a bunch of different variations. There's also a ton of parts. You can even opt to have skiff bearings installed in it from the factory, right? All the upgrades that you want, they actually do it right there. I say the factory. They do it right there before they ship it to you, which is really cool. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Thanks to Exceed for sending this in. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Did I say that already? I think I meant to say, make sure your notifications are turned on for the Metal Complex YouTube channel. Okay. Big long intro. Shut up, Complex. Review the knife. Overall length, 7 inches. This is bigger than the TiRant Razor V3. I think it's 20 or 30% larger. Blade length. I mean, yeah. Okay. To the end of the handle there. Let's say that. 3 inches. Your actual blade length, it does make use of the entire length of this blade that he's made, this modified one, right? You put this one in here, and this one, the blade length, I believe, is the same. So if we go blade length on this style of blade, for example, your cutting edge is about 2.75. On the utility blades, which it does take your standard, whatever your favorite utility blade, I mean, like it takes a standard utility blade. 2.25, little tiny less than 2.25. I'm going to leave this blade in here because it looks cooler. So there you go. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. Any custom scales you find in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and others. So up against the AD10 and also my Excalibur. It is on the smaller, more compact side, but it does not feel like a tiny knife. It feels like a normal-sized pocket knife. Let's put it up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue and the Hogue Deck. I don't know why we're doing this backwards today. Still a little bit smaller there. And finally, we'll put it up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3. How's the action? Very, very good. I think he pre-installed the skiff bearings on these. I think that's the case because it feels excessively smooth. Like I cannot feel the pivot smooth. That's my sign that it's probably, you'll have to excuse me, I'm wearing a yellow shirt today. That's why you're seeing the yellow reflection in the blade there. I own more yellow t-shirts than I realized, I guess. This happens more often than I would expect it to. But anyways, yeah, I think that he's got the skiff bearings on this. I mean, if these aren't the skiff bearings, it's freaking crazy smooth. It's a pretty inexpensive upgrade. I also expect, based on his past models that he has sent in here, even the standard bearings are going to feel really, really good. Access to the lock bar is great. He's got a nice cutout there. There's not a sharp ledge or anything. You just kick it. I mean, same way you would with any frame lock, right? You just push it over, and then your detent is just exceptional. The position of the flipper tab, the angle of it is great, and they didn't make it a hard 90 degrees. You can see it; they came up just a little bit. That makes a world of difference when you're holding onto it like this. It makes it substantially more comfortable. Honestly, the action is fantastic. You can also use the little lever here to flip it out if you want to. This is the lever that releases the blade. I think he intended for that to be the case because of where it's positioned, so I don't see why you couldn't use it. But I honestly don't use it at all. I use the flipper tab, and it works really, really well. Let's do carry profile. Thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. It is not thick. About exactly the same length and height up against the PM2 and the Para 3. Where on earth did the PM2 go? There we go. Super compact, unbelievably easy to carry. It's just an incredibly comfortable object. It really doesn't matter if you're wearing, athletic shorts, sweatpants, dress pants, jeans, cargo shorts. It doesn't really matter. It just works. It's just really good. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I'm going to get out my tools as per usual. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. I think almost everything is a T8. For regular frame disassembly. T8 pivots. No, I'm wrong. It's only one T6 though back here, and then it looks like you've got a little T6 for the pocket clip right here, which is something that you can flip over. Does it go backwards the other way? I believe this knife, it comes with a whole bunch, the box has a whole bunch of tools, and you can see it if you go back and watch my unboxing. It comes with a whole bunch of stuff. More than likely, there's a second pocket clip in there. I remember that being the case because this bill is angled this way, and that would make it upside down, flipped over to the other side. So I'm almost certain there's a second pocket clip in there. But it's nice that you have the option, even if for some weird reason that isn't the case, it's nice that you have the option to switch the pocket clip over. But anyways, we have a captive pivot, T8, and then for this, because you're probably wondering, well, how do you get the blade out of the housing, right? For the razor blade. This is not a quick change system, and I agree with the people. I can already hear them. It would have truly been ultra. It would have truly been ultimate if he had implemented a quick change system within the removable housing for the utility blade. I think so. There's enough here that I just think is super, super great that I'm not incredibly bothered by it. It's 2 T6 screws. You can see they go all the way through to the other side. 2 T6 screws, and you pop it out. It would be faster and more convenient to have a quick change system, and perhaps that's something that he's working on in the future. At the moment, it is not a quick change system, but it doesn't slow you down very much. You just use a couple of screws. And as is the case with a lot of quick change systems, right? The downside is that they're not always incredibly secure quick change systems sometimes cause the blade to walk like they already have blade play, or blade play gets worse over time, or sometimes they don't do a great job of keeping the blade in place. So with this, you at least can rest assured that the blade is completely and totally secure within the frame. And then, of course, it's just not that, like, the blades are just shaped like the housing here for the back parts. They go right in. So, yeah, that's another part of Disassembly when you need to change out the utility blades to T6 screws. But outside of that, you're good. So really pretty straightforward construction here. Nothing too wild or crazy. I don't know why I'm not able to push that back in. There we go. Just like this. Click. By the way, when you do that, when it is clicked into place, there is absolutely zero play in the pivot or the housing for the blade. It is very, very secure. This screw right here is, I believe, I remember when I disassembled it the first time, is what allows that to be the case, I believe. Unscrewing this just a little bit creates that place. So when that screw is all the way down, it's keeping those two pieces of the housing together, and that's what's allowing the blade to fit so securely in there. All right, so, but anyways, your disassembly will be very, very simple. As long as you have the right tools for the job, you should be good to go. Let's go ahead and weigh it. So what are we looking at here? So this is one of many different, frames and texture. You can get stonewashed, non-textured, textured. You can get PVD. There's a bunch of stuff like smooth and, non-PVD or PVD and textured or textured without the PVD or whatever. Bunch of different ones. The plain smooth titanium is the least expensive one. So it's, whichever one you decide is best for you. But there's your variation there. And then the housing, he lists the housing, one of the optional, like if you want to buy a separate, housing thing for it. Actually, it's this piece right here. I'm sorry. This piece. He lists it, the optional ones, as titanium. This is clearly steel. So let's see here. What does that say? HCS, yeah, hot swap. Okay, sorry. I wanted to see if it said titanium. They do sell another version of this that is titanium, but as far as I know, what it comes with, this and this part here, is also steel, right? And then your frame, all of that, that's titanium. The pocket clip is titanium, all of that. And then you even have a steel lock. It's weird to flip this without a blade. You even have a steel lock bar insert there too. So that's cool. And then obviously your blade material will vary greatly. I mean, this is the type of thing where I can see people who buy it will just buy a whole bunch of different stuff with it because it's fun. It's kind of like knife Legos, which is how they used to describe hinder nuts. I don't know if they still call us that, but or describe our obsession that way. But that's absolutely what it is. That was part of the draw to hinder knives for me, the modularity and being able to swap out so many different parts, not the blade, but so many different parts and kind of make it what I wanted it to be. And yeah, the number of combinations that are made available on the website is truly vast. It is crazy. You can really build your own thing and give yourself options to change up the look kind of whenever you want to. So anyways, we'll get into that. The weight here, 3.2 ounces, that's fine with me. Very close to ultra lightweight. I have no issues with it whatsoever. There's not really any point to measuring blade stock thickness because it's a super thin utility blade, right? I mean, like the blade, I guess we'll do the custom blades, right? We'll do that because that could be a little bit different. So the custom blades, 58 thousandths here at the, that's at the thickest. Actually, I think it's a little more. Yeah. 58 thousandths, and then it tapers down. So that's that's really, really thin, right? And your experience will be different between these two blades for sure. Okay, meat and potatoes time. Really good looking frame. It looks modern. It looks cool, but it doesn't look boring. In fact, this is the type of thing where if you whip this out, people are going to have questions about it. It also doesn't look incredibly intimidating. It looks like a simple utility blade that's just really, really, I mean, it's exactly what it is. It looks like a super fancy utility blade, right? It's just, there's a lot more going on. I like that, like one of the drawbacks to using a utility blade, when that one guy who's just a grouch, and he's like scrolling and he sees like a knife that he knows is expensive and he's like, that's stupid. Like my walkie fastback will do the same. Ah! And he's just mad that it exists. He's yelling at his phone for no reason. So he goes to the comments, say it like it's doing anything. Shut up. Like we've seen it. We've all seen it, right? One of the drawbacks to a utility blade is simply the length of the blade or the cutting edge. It cannot do everything. It can't. It can do most things. And the truth is that, yeah, I mean, we all know this. The vast majority of us can get by with a simple, boring, Husky, whatever, or Milwaukee like a $10 to $15 utility knife. Why do we choose not to do that? Because it is boring. Because we would be bored with that. It's not fun. We want it to be cool and special and fun. And thank goodness a massive, massive industry and enthusiast community exists that allows us to escape the world of the Milwaukee Fastback and enter the world of stuff like this, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's substantially more expensive. It's just a lot cooler, right? And a lot of us are just willing to go down that route. I know I am. Anyways, as if that wasn't obvious. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff like this isn't going to be able to do. On top of that, like your simple daily tasks, it's just this much edge that's going through because you're not going to try and push the housing through it, right? You're just going to use the edge. But that's pretty much all the more edge a lot of people need. If you find that you need more, right, the amount of cutting edge here, not only is the cutting edge longer, but the amount of blade that can pass straight through, like if you're breaking down boxes or whatever, without being interrupted by the housing, is quite a bit more. I mean, that does make a pretty big difference. A 2 1/8 inch blade that is not being interrupted by housing makes it, as far as like what it can be used for, substantially more than this, right? If you're cutting into thicker material. That's kind of a neat little thing that this guy has. And you just pop the blade out and pop the utility blade out and pop this guy in, right? I think that's really, really cool. I love that. I think most of the time, the one in my truck, I currently have this guy installed, but there's another couple of these blades in there that I keep just basically because it's fun to show off, and also just because I'm like, well, if my mood changes, I might want to swap it out. But I think the best look, honestly, is the all black with the shiny Damascus blade. I think that's really cool. I think this is the equivalent. It's not Damas steel. It's the equivalent of a VG10 core. It might actually be a VG10 core San Mai. Looks really, really great. In the future, I think he mentioned wanting to do replaceable 20 CV blades. That's awesome. That's so cool. Now, I don't know what he would charge for that. I don't think the D2 blades are horrifically expensive, and that's what all these other blades that I have, these are all D2 blades. And I'll install some of them while I talk here so you guys can kind of see. Let's do a few different ones here, maybe this one and this one. But these, to my knowledge, are all D2. I think it says right there. Yeah, D2. So not horribly expensive. But I definitely, when there's an option to purchase a blade that it really does change the look. Like it's a dramatic change in look. When I have the option to purchase a blade made of, a higher quality blade steel, I think I would definitely do that. I think it would be really cool if you actually offered some, super high-end, like actual Damas steel as well. This is kind of like a matte finish. It actually has almost like I don't know if I want to call that a Scandi grind, but it's just a very low cutting bevel, or low pre-cutting bevel. But anyways, this has almost like an extended utility blade look, right? It's the same thing, just a lot more cutting edge, and a lot of it is not stopped by the housing or anything like that. Some of these, almost Damascus looking, they're not Damascus and they're not advertised that way. They're D2 with kind of a topographical look to it. But these are also really cool. I think this is fun. Just make sure I get that in there. It really is. If I'm making it look hard, I apologize. It's really not hard. It's actually exceptionally easy, but just neat. I love that you can do that, mix and match. And while it is, people are going to have a hard time not thinking of this versus the cost of a utility knife with utility blades. Yes, it is more expensive than that. versus buying a knife, like when we think of like what an M390 pocket knife costs versus what a D2 pocket knife costs, which is not the same thing, but when you think of it that way, it's like, holy moly, it's going to be quite a bit less expensive for sure. Still expensive for the little blades, but it just depends on what you compare it to. I think it's pretty awesome. I think it's pretty spectacular. I have truly enjoyed this. The texturing is really nice. It's not too aggressive or crazy. And in and out of the pocket, it's a breeze. It doesn't make any difference whatsoever versus the smooth one. And well, it makes a little tiny difference, I guess. But like, for example, right now I'm in some athletic Under Armour pants that would otherwise, if it was like super grippy, it would catch very easily. It doesn't at all. In and out of the pocket, very, very easy. Everything feels solid. Nothing feels rickety or loosey-goosey. It really does feel like the whole thing is just a premium knife. It doesn't feel like just the premium frame, and then there's some rickety stuff here holding in the blade. No, the entire thing feels incredibly high quality. Seating of the hardware, fit and finish, all of that, spectacular. Like I said, you can pop the clip off and rotate it around, or you flip it over to the other side if you want. Little backspacer. I like that they chose to use the Chicago screw, so it's just one screw. I think that's neat. Steel lock bar insert, which does double as the over travel stop, so that's awesome. Your stop pin is right here. Fairly substantial stop pin for the size of this. Like I said, no blade play in the housing and no blade play in the pivot. Very, very impressive. No lock stick, no pivot lash. Ridiculously smooth, but again, I'm pretty sure he put the skiffs in here. And the detent, very nice. Nice little click. And this is going to be slightly off center because of where this mounts to the housing. It's not absolutely perfect to begin with. It's not, it's not supposed to be, right? It's just going to be slightly off center because of how it's housed in there. The base price of this frame with, I think it comes with a pack of blades and maybe one, is $165. And then you can opt to buy as many of the upgrades or the extras as you want to. Now, compared to a utility blade, yes, that's a lot more money. We covered that at the beginning, right? So that we didn't have to still deal with that again, even though I'm sure we will. People will aggressively shove that comment through, right? But it's like, well, you're here. Right, I mean, you're here on this channel. In this particular video, you probably, you had to click on it. This was in the thumbnail. It says exactly what it is, right? So you got to be slightly interested. There's a part of you that understands this. Yes, it does the same thing as a standard utility blade. It has the option, or it has the ability to have a larger, longer blade with more cutting edge and more open cutting space swapped out or swapped in, right? Normal utility blade cannot do that. Is that worth paying an extra $150? For a lot of people, for most people, no. But most people don't carry stuff like this or anything else that I show on this channel. The vast majority of people on Earth literally carry a $10 to $20 hunk of garbage, right? And then I think the logical people who don't really care about the enthusiast knife world, they carry a nice utility knife, like a reasonable, high-quality utility knife that's just low cost, high function, right? And then if they need to cut something that requires a bigger blade, they use a completely different tool. My dad never really carried like a dedicated pocket knife. He used a utility knife, and then he had a bunch of different tools, right? Little hand cutting tools and things like that that he would use. But so for the vast majority of people, you're one of those. If you're carrying a weird gas station knife because you either don't care, you don't know any better, right? Or you're carrying a little utility blade. For some people, will this be worth it? Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think the price is bad at all. In my mind, these were $200. And I think it's because when I first went to the site, I saw one of the more expensive ones. Like if you get it with textured and PVD and all that, yeah, it's going to cost more. But I looked at the price of the standard one. I was like, oh, these are really not horrific, right? So yeah, I think some people will look at the price and think, oh, it's still too much, but considering everything you can get and like you can continue to transform this thing over time, and like how knife enthusiasts generally are. We like to buy a knife and we put it up on a pedestal and we watch a bunch of videos and it's going to be the ultimate knife, it's the best knife ever, right? And then you finally buy it and you're like, yeah, I never have to buy another knife again. And then you use it for like a month and then you're like, I want another knife, right? That's pretty expensive. That's pretty expensive to do. This, especially if you do that with premium knives, this allows you to kind of do that, but for way less money. Pretty much. The ability to continuously swap out the blades and things like that. So does it solve the problem for the itchiest of us? No, but it does it at least delays it a little bit. And at the end of the day, this is an exceptionally good daily tool. It just is. It's really nice. It's really convenient. It's cool. It just does. It's almost like an everything knife. Straightforward, easy, convenient, compact, lightweight, get the job done kind of thing. But it's also fun to get out and flip and look at and, oh, cool, I got my favorite blade installed, whatever, right? It's just cool. I love this. I love it. This is going in my recommended knives playlist. It's also going in my favorite knives of all time playlist. It is the first and only utility, like luxury or premium utility knife in that entire playlist, to my knowledge. It's the only one. Super cool. Absolutely love it. Very cool. That's going to be it. Links for this down in the description. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.